coach right now, this is the third consecutive week now where either a player or a coach has come out and talked about how they knew a play was coming in a critical moment. It started with Chase Lucas, the 49ers cornerback, on the fourth down stop where they ran a little, I don't think it was a sprint right, but it was like a speed out to London where Chase Lucas absolutely read it and he stopped it. It was a key fourth down stop. Chase Lucas basically said we knew the play was happening. Once London motioned, he knew the ball was coming his way, read it, should have picked it off, but ended up being a stop. In a way, cost him the game. Raheem Morris pretty much admitted after Miami game that the Dolphins kind of anticipated their plays, and now we hear today, look what happened on that second down. This is 3 games now, 3 losses where you're basically admitting either in key moments or just in various parts of the game, teams know what we're doing. Who's that fall on, Kevin?
Yeah. Apparently my mic is not working right. So if you could
and now the Falcons are going after Kevin's mic. Because I know Kevin has a lot of takes right now because he's just beyond fed up with it. But, like, how on earth does this happen repeatedly for a team that's so talented, that has aspirations, to just continuously beat themselves like this? It's insane. All right, sorry, folks. We're working through some alpha. I'm going to try to carry the show while Kevin's working through this. But, yeah, it's just we could talk about press conference quotes and them taking accountability, but when does you could take accountability, but when is it going to result in wins? Like we saw improved performance. There's no time to I think the Falcons outplayed the Patriots in many aspects, but ultimately you need wins, especially when you put yourself by the 8 ball like they did with just horrific performances against Carolina and Miami. So right now, I don't know where the Falcons will really go from here, but at least they have somewhat of a launch platform. Because I want to talk, we'll talk about as Kevin's worked with his issues, but there are plenty of things to be encouraged about this game. Like the offense, on a day where they couldn't really run the ball, and yes, they were a little too reliant on Drake London some moments, but look, when Drake London has 3 touchdowns and he's making lost plays on Christian Gonzalez. Now, Grant Gonzalez did get the better on numerous occasions, but nevertheless, Drake London still had his moments. Like, how can you not love that? How can you not love the fact that the Falcons, in a game against not say a top tier opponent, but it's definitely a playoff team, didn't run the ball effectively, but still managed to stay afloat and was flourishing. Even Kyle Pitts has some of his moments.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think that was a big positive as Kevin's back in. Look, we've been down the offensive line case and still had a couple of issues in moments, but this Patriots front, they have Noel Williams, Christian Barabor, Kayson's playing a lot better. He had a sack earlier on Matthews, and then Landry's been playing better this year. That Patriots front, to me, is pretty good. And it seemed like the second half, they were completely neutralized. So I just think there's a lot of positive takeaways about the offense performance, and we could talk about the defense, particularly the front.
Yeah. Well, guys, let me know if everything's okay. I can't detect anything.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I know you were. Apparently, there was a bad echo. I know you couldn't hear Alan, which is weird because it's the exact same source for both the audio going to you and to them. So don't know what's going on with that. But thanks, guys, for your patience there. But you're absolutely right. Like, we should give the players props because I feel like they just, once again, like, they have to overcome this coaching staff at every turn. Like, I feel like everybody knows we're getting Drake London like slant or out route or something on a short yardage play, and Drake is like still almost coming down with this catch, but with like 3 Patriots draped all over him, guys trying to jump the route. Like,
let's emphasize 4th down.
Yeah,
this isn't just any play. This is 4th down. Like these are crucial moments, and I think the Falcons are now 6 for 16 on 4th down this year. When last year I think they were like nearly 70%. So that's a huge drop-off and deciding games. Like, look what's going on with the Commanders outside of injuries.
Yeah. And, guys, we'll redo the intro here just in case people missed it with apparently what was a terrible echo. Welcome to the Falcoholic Live, presented by FanDuel, Falcons vs. Patriots, Week 9 post-game show. Thank you for your patience as, I don't know, the internet's trying to sabotage the takes tonight. I don't know. I don't have an explanation for that. But we will continue to bring you all that stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, all that goodness. But yeah, Alan, it's so frustrating to watch because, like you said before the show, it's like Drake London like really put the offense on his back. 3 touchdowns, first career game for him to have 3 touchdowns. had to beat a very difficult matchup. I mean, whether it was Christian Gonzalez or Carlton Davis, those are, two of the better man corners in the NFL this year. And
Marcus Jones is pretty good too.
Yeah. He's a great slot. Yeah. It's a bad matchup for Jones because of Drake's size. But it's just they're not getting any help from the coaching staff. And I thought this was one of Penix's sharpest games too. I mean, I know a lot of people were getting on him for that intentional grounding. That's not his fault, guys. The ball's in his lap. I think Bijan was going to motion to the other side of him on that play. So he's like thinking of the play and like, oh, Bijan should be here. And like they didn't have time to set up the play because it's multiple seconds early. And
I didn't notice that. So because I thought Penix was a bit at fault for that, but you think it's purely on coaching with that?
Apparently, the Patriots simulated their snap count or something. So that's but like I believe Penix threw it over there because Bijan was supposed to be on that side. And he probably was going to motion to that side. I think they were still early in the play there, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure we'll ever be able to see it, but actually know the truth on that play. But
in the pocket, you gotta be a little bit more aware. Yeah. And I don't think the pressure was coming either. And we saw, to me, besides the Bucs game, this was Penix's best performance when it came to creating nav structure and like evading the pressure. The pocket navigation, which we've been critical of him. Like today, he was fantastic.
Yeah. And I agree. I think he just. Like kind of, I don't know if he thought it was like an offsides or something, the way he just threw the ball away. Like there was clearly some big confusion about that. And my guess is that was multiple seconds early that he wasn't even prepared for the snap. So, I mean, obviously you'd like it if your quarterback can salvage a play like that. But I mean, yeah, I just think again, it comes back to like the other team shouldn't be, shouting our snap count back at us and getting us. Like, I mean, we can't have this stuff. I mean, before that, we had the false start, it's like, you can't have a false start on that drive. You just can't. Like, that's one of those places you can't. And, at this point, I'm just so frustrated with watching the operation of this offense. They sort of outright refuse to diversify the run game. They continue to just spam the zone runs and occasionally sprinkle in a duo play if we're lucky. But they appear totally unwilling to diversify the run game like pretty much every other Shanahan McVay style offense has done, including McVay himself. Obviously we're dealing with offensive line injuries here. Matthew Bergeron leaves on like the second snap of the game. Kyle Hinton comes in. We know he's a very serviceable guard and he'll probably be okay. But then Chris Lindstrom leaves and Javon Gwynn comes in, and in the couple of plays there, I mean, I didn't see Javon Gwynn get annihilated or anything, but that's obviously not going to work long term. So if those are serious injuries, which obviously you worry about Bergeron because he left early and did not return. Lindstrom, I mean, it may have been precautionary, we don't really know, but they can't afford any more missteps now. They're 3-5. So at this point, if they want to get 10 wins, which is what it's going to take to make the playoffs in the NFC, I mean, they have to go 7-1, 7-2 at this point. That's not realistic. There's no way they're going 7-2. So I mean, it's all but over at this point for this team. I mean, they're completely inconsistent. And if you're inconsistent, even if you're talented, which I think they are, I think this team is talented. I think this team could definitely be a 10-win team if they were consistently coached. They're not, and they can't overcome this. And it doesn't appear that there's any willingness to change from the coaching staff, who just go up on the microphone after every game and say, we have to execute better. You can't execute your way out of this. Like, I mean, I would say Drake London had like the best game of his career. Penix had one of the best games of his career. 3 passing touchdowns. They were really fighting against what was bad protection for much of the game. Nothing going in the run game whatsoever. And it still feels like they're trying to push a boulder uphill. I just keep coming back to that. It shouldn't be this hard on a down-to-down basis. And it is. Like, they have no answers in short yardage. They have no answers on third down. They didn't convert their first third down until almost the fourth quarter. And the red zone, and this seems like their only red zone play is the fade to London, which, like, it worked in this game, but like that, you can't just have fades. Like, that can't be the only play.
The second touchdown was pretty nice.
It was. Like, that's a good play. You could throw one of
nice
those.
motion,
like, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, that's a good play for London, but like you have to have something else. Like that can't be
Right.
the only one.
Yeah, and the lack of receiver depth. Like at this point, I don't think they're really going to trade for anyone because this team's really not in a position to trade draft capital in a lost year. Because look, they still got to play Seattle. Colts are next week. They still got to play the Rams. There's a short week at Tampa. Maybe they win one, but you're not going to convince me they're going to win half those matchups. So I just think the lack of receivers, like, because you see David Still's getting critical snaps. He just doesn't offer anything. And I don't know, Mooney's just not a factor. Panks doesn't even look his way. So as great as the abhorrence it was between both guys, it's just you still want to see a little bit more variety because there's one play in the red zone where Panks could have easily got picked off. You try to force it to London, the back corner. And I think Marcus Jones and another player read it. So it's just, as great as it was, just like you can't be solely reliant on one player. It's kind of like how the Falcons were so reliant on Bijan. And look, it almost won the game today. Like I don't want to fault them too much, but the longevity, the defenses adjust. You're not going to tell me Lou Anarumo next week is not going to watch the film and realize, okay, let's shade our coverage to London and force. If we get beat by Kyle Pitts, then so be it, or Darnell Mooney. So as fun as this was today, and I do think they do a great job of scheming things up for London away. London still had to work a lot to make certain plays. Like that catch over Christian Gonzalez. I love to see Panks throw it up like that, but if London's not a contested ball catching monster, that ends up an interception because I thought Gonzalez was in perfect position to pick that off. It was just Drake London being insane after a play that Bijan Robinson was insane with the one-handed catch. Like there were some highlight reel plays. Like, were you losing your mind at one point?
Yeah,
because it was the same drive where Bijan and London had those catches. It was just like, this is why this team should be good, man.
they're so talented. Like offensively, this team should be running people over. This team should be shredding people up, shredding defenses to pieces. I feel like they don't have intermediate pass plays in the playbook. Like we don't see anything in the like, it's like what the hell is going on? Like who came up with this? Like and nothing's wrong. Like they won't admit anything's wrong. They won't say like, I mean, I don't need you to like prostrate yourself in front of us and be and like get the cat o' nine tails out. Like we're not asking for that. Just a little humility, a little bit of acknowledgement of like, yeah, I think maybe, defenses are starting to pick up on our tendencies. So we're gonna add some new wrinkles. That's all we want. Can you not say that? Are you that arrogant that you can't say that? Like, I mean, and I don't want you to just say it. Like, if you're gonna say it, we need to see some actual wrinkles here. But it's like we're so far down the rabbit hole of bad coaching that they're not even willing to like concede the basics at this point.
The thing is, you don't have to express it. Like, you don't have to verbally
Sure.
articulate it. Show it on the field.
Do
Throw
something.
action. Action. Simple quote here. Actions speak louder than words. Let's see action. Like the Patriots converted early, third short. They had a nose tackle as a lead fullback. Could you would the Falcons even attempt to have like?
We didn't even have a nose tackle.
And I was really happy to see Laquel London out there today. But nevertheless, like it's just those little details. Like I thought Josh McDaniels, at least in the first half, played a terrific game, and then very fitting at the end of it, targets JD Bertrand, who it was good. If you want to talk about one adjustment, of course, it comes from the defensive side. They actually had some sort of rotational plan. We did not see JD Bertrand for 60 snaps.
Yeah,
is that progress?
I feel like Ulbrich is like trolling because like Bertrand came out for the start, and then Ronnie Harrison replaced him the very next play. And then, like, Harrison played the majority of the game, and then Bertrand came back out at the end of the game to, like, which,
I thought Bertrand played a little bit more, no?
He did play. He did play.
Yeah.
Like, he played some, but it's like, they definitely, like, recognize that he's not, like, the greatest. But then they had him in, like, the critical drive at the end of the game. So, like, they're obsessed with Bertrand. They are like, this guy needs to play. Like, we're going to resist every, like, fan saying that he can't play. Every analyst saying that he can't play. And he did play better this week. But, like, he did nothing on that. I think he ended up picking Mike Hughes, basically, on that final play. And, like...
Henry beat him also earlier pretty easily. Just took him. And Hunter Henry's not guys that's supposed to be creating 6 yards of separation.
No, and
He's
like...
player, but come on.
Yes, it was a pick route, but like a lot of times that doesn't get called. Like I know Jason Gaines had donated with the 2 to say that Mac Hollins hit a pick play there that should have been flagged. I mean, like I agree, but they're not going to call that most of the time. That's just how it is in the NFL. So
Has to be egregious.
What we need is like JD Bertrand to not get sucked into the pick so easily. Like if you're playing man coverage, you have to be looking out for those pick plays. You have to watch these route combos because they're going to try to, like, the Falcons don't really run pick plays. I've seen like a handful all year, but like if you're not running pick plays, you're not trying in the NFL. Like, so, I mean, I am saying the Falcons aren't trying, for the record, but
look no further than the Chiefs. The Chiefs do it every week.
Yeah.
And they do it. They execute it brilliantly.
Because they don't call it. So you might as well, like, go for it.
Yeah. It's like you just have to run the route. Like, don't lead an elbow. Don't leave a shoulder. Just actually run the route. Like, Juju Smith-Schuster does it perfectly. So if you run your route, they're not going to call it. But it's just, at this point, with I guess the offensive coaching staff, it's just the lack of receiver depth, and then there's just moments in the game. Like I as much as we could celebrate the individuals, it's just like you mentioned before, and I think you nailed it. It's just down to down. It shouldn't be this much of a struggle. Like it's just the lack of consistency continues to really haunt this team, whether it's through self-inflicted errors or just some weird motion. There's some running plays in this game where I could appreciate motion to. Look, everyone loves motion, but it just doesn't seem like the Falcons utilize it properly. And we were talking about there's no middle of the field, there's no intermediate passing game. This team is also terrible at screens. Yeah. I can't remember the last time this team has run an effective screen. Can you recall a good screen being utilized?
No, they're very slow on the screens. They always telegraph them way too much. The motion usually sets them up, and that the motion tends to lead into the screen, which like obviously is pulling more defenders towards that side of the field and putting eyes on the screen setup, which is never a good idea. Like you said, like it feels like they just tack motion on, like just because, like it's like, oh yeah, well we need to have a motion in here to see the coverage. But like there was like one run play where like they just like motion Darnell Mooney to the opposite side and then run the other direction, and it's like, okay, like I see that, but like what is that motion accomplishing for you? Because like you don't need to see the coverage if it's a run play, and like you're motioning Mooney away from the play. So I'm not really sure what it accomplishes. Like you don't have to run motion on every play. It's not necessary. I mean, you should run motion on pretty much every passing play in my opinion, but like it's just, I don't know what their motions accomplish half the time. And a lot of times they end up just giving away what the play is, like you said in the screen game.
Exactly. And here's another issue. Mooney's not a threat when it comes to running. Well, you know who did it last year? And he was successful nearly every time they ran, whether it was a jet sweep or toss, whatever. Ray McLeod. They ran at least 5 or 6 times last year. Ray McLeod, whether any sort of motion, and they actually gave him the ball. To me, it's like you need to have an actual player that defenses are going to be challenged by. Like Darnell Mooney's explosive, but he's small. Like he's not going to break tackles, and I don't think I've ever even seen him run a reverse or a jet sweep. Like Ray McLeod did it a bunch of times last year. It didn't usually result in a good play. I don't know if London could be that guy. I don't think they have a receiver on the roster that you could utilize in that way. Like I think it would have to be Bijan, and then with Algier, like that's the only way you can really disguise it. So once again, Falcons lack a receiver depth. That and the interior tackle depth is just things I'm just going to pinpoint. Like this is why this team is losing games in a way, because they just don't have enough talent in either area. But the Patriots have their way on the ground. And I just feel like every week now we're saying the Falcons' run defense is just not enough.
Yeah, the run defense is, again, like they were able to overcome it with Divine Diablo, who just I think was kind of the linchpin, and we've seen that. But like their like refusal to just go out and get a nose tackle. Like, I mean, they have good defensive linemen. Like, this is not really a knock on their defensive line or like these young guys. Like, I think they're all playing their asses off, but these are undersized, like maybe 300-pound guys, which are like, that's kind of like the baseline for NFL defensive tackle. It's not big. That's like the baseline. And some of these guys like Rook are playing like more in the 290s and Dorless and stuff like that. But if you're going to go small, you need to have a true two-gapping nose tackle on your roster and active, because teams will then try to just run directly at you. Teams that are willing to run gap scheme, unlike the Falcons, will just run double teams against your small interior defenders and force your linebackers to fill. And if you have bad linebacker play, which the Falcons do right now with JD Bertrand / Harrison was better, I would say. I mean, there's no question to me Harrison's a better player than JD Bertrand at this point. But again, it's, you know, if you don't have like an elite filling linebacker, like a true run stuffer, and your nose tackle's getting washed, like you're not going to be able to keep the yards per carry down when you're facing those types of runs, unless you're like 3-4 defensive ends in those fronts, or your 3 techs are just god tier guys that are just like climbing over or getting backfield penetration every snap. Like, it makes you really vulnerable up the middle. And like, I just don't really get why they did nothing to bring in a nose tackle. They brought in some guys that can play penetrating nose, like Schematic can play penetrating nose, and we've seen, Rook do it on occasion. LaKale London can do it on occasion. They have
Dorless.
Sam Roberts, Dorless, but that's a very different type of nose tackle that doesn't necessarily help you in the run game. And like, it's just such an obvious deficiency. Like, it's why all offseason I was like expecting them to draft a nose tackle or add a nose tackle, because they're going to be small. They're going to play small ball up front. Their edge rushers are going to be lighter, like all this stuff, which is fine. You can build a defense around that. There's plenty of successful defenses, but they all have a big nose tackle because they have to have someone that clogs 2 gaps in the middle, or the math just doesn't math against the run. And that's just what the Falcons are running into. I think this is a good defense and a talented defense. They just don't have the math on the inside to stop the run consistently against teams that are willing to pound it with gap style runs. And we saw that again today. Like, they just get gashed in the middle. And like, I think Ulbricht's smart, but it's like, I don't know if they can fix it at this point. I mean, I don't know if there are any really like worthwhile nose tackles to add, but it's a position that's not expensive to add. You can get it on day 3 of the draft. You can get it on the cheap in free agency, and they just chose to let all the good ones go. They didn't pursue any of them. So that continues to frazzle my brain. But I mean, I don't know what can be done about it now.
Yeah, at this point, you just have to accept what it is. But you saw like the Patriots had, I don't know if they had multiple 8-minute drives, but there was definitely one drive went for like 8:30, and like this adds up. You lose out on scoring opportunities, and it's unfortunate because I think Anya Maz looked rejuvenated this year. Brandon Dorless was flying to the ball again. LaKale London had some moments. Rook is showing flashes. Like, before he got injured, I thought Zach Harrison's playing well. It's like individually, these guys are playing relatively well. It's just, it's not aligning properly because they're undersized. And this team was bad against the run last year. Like, how do you not learn your lesson? Like, we could talk about how simplistic the defense was last year. I know we spoke ad nauseum about it, and they've done a very good job revamping it over one offseason. But I think in this day and age where teams are running the ball more and more, utilizing heavy personnel, running duo, you should have been more ready for that. And look, I think they got away with it the first 2 weeks just because Diablo was a monster, and they were great against the Bucs and Vikings. But I think we've just seen it ever since the Bills game. Like, the Niners do not overpower teams. The Niners bullied them. Miami bullied them, and through long stretches, New England was having their way. And now you're going against Jonathan Taylor and the Colts next week. Like, it's just.
Might want to find a nose tackle. Yeah. I'm just saying,
And like, I want to praise this defense because, like, Drake May has not. I think only the Steelers have really made Drake May look rattled. Like, this defense got after Drake May.
6 sacks, 6.
Yeah, and they earned it. It wasn't really schemed up all that much. So, like, it's just that. Like, I want to harp on the negative because like there's so much to talk about in a positive way, but it's just this team lost, and you've tried to figure out ways how this team lose outside of coaching. And I just think personnel-wise up front, they just can't get off the field in certain moments. And it's because these teams are in third and favorable a lot of times. Like, do you know where the Falcons are in third down defense this year?
They were like pretty solid, but I don't know where they are now. I mean, the last couple of games obviously have hurt. I mean, they were quite good to start the year. They were one of the best. But yeah, now I don't really know.
It just seems like their opponents have a lot more favorable down distances, while the Falcons are routinely finding themselves in negative down distances. Like, this team was in third long how many times today? And it's a big reason why they couldn't convert.
Yeah, one conversion till 50-something seconds left in the third. Like, and again, a lot of that is this scheme is just hot garbage, man. I mean, it's just that I feel like it's either a dump off, like a 5-yard out, or a deep pass. Like, there's nothing in between. It's like, it's either a deep bomb to somebody, a long developing play, or like a 5-yard out or a slant, or, that's it. Like, or screen. Like, there's nothing in between. The whole middle of the field, like from like the 10 to the 15-yard line, is just void. Like, nobody even bothers to run a route there.
I will say, I think the last 3 weeks, though, we've seen one successful intermediate to deep shot to Kyle Pitts. Like, Kyle Pitts, whether it's through play action or if he's like running a rail route, I do think they found ways to get Kyle Pitts more involved vertically.
Yeah.
And he's having a good year. Though he actually blocked pretty well today, too, in moments. So,
yeah.
Kyle Pitts, man, hey, I know you're really thrilled about because you've been at a time where it was hard to defend Kyle Pitts, you stood by him. So, you got to take the small victories, Kev.
Yeah. I've always thought Kyle Pitts was misused, and I mean, he's still misused, but at least he's got a quarterback that's willing to chuck him the ball when there's a favorable look. So there is something. We got Alex Foster. Let me get to a couple of these real quick before we continue. We got Alex Foster with the 5. It said, we at least looked like we could win. That's all I ask for at this point. Am I the problem or am I just strong? No, that's fine, Alex. You can, I enjoyed this game up until the end. Like, I was not really expecting a win here. And of course, when they rip it away from you, that kind of ruins that vibe. But this was a much better game. And again, they just play to their opponent. Like, they take the good teams seriously, and I don't know what they do against the bad teams. I don't know if they're just spending all week at Magic City or what, but like, it's just, it's ugly against bad teams. And against good teams, they look like they can beat every good team they played. Like, every single good team they played, they look like they could beat.
Look, we've been dismissing them, but I think it's time we got to take the Panthers a little seriously. You beat the Packers. You beat the Packers on the road. All right. Like, I've been dismissing the Panthers. Look, Green Bay's a Super Bowl team. I don't care what anyone says. I know they're frustratingly inconsistent, but you beat Green Bay on the road. We got to take you seriously. So, I don't know. One bad team, I guess, which is still pitiful. That Miami game, oh, my God. Burn that. Watching the all-22, like, it was very hard watching it and not wanting to drink like a six-pack.
Yeah, it's a tough one. We got Kevin JR with the 5 saying, I feel so bad for the talent that's on this roster. While it has its flaws, this head coach is truly the worst in the league. I miss Arthur Smith. Okay, that's too far. I was with you up until the Arthur Smith line. I don't miss Arthur Smith, and I have no real ill will towards Arthur Smith. He was actually a very nice man in person. And like, Again, like, the hiring of Arthur Smith was good process. It didn't work out, but they should have stuck with the process because it was correct. And instead they didn't do that. They went back to like a familiar coach, which, like, I don't think that's ever worked out for them. Like, maybe Ulbrich is like the one time where it's like, oh, this is good. But like, they kept hiring Dirk Cutter. Like, I still don't understand that. Like, it's just like I don't know if it's a McVay thing or a blank thing, but this has permeated multiple general managers now. So I don't think maybe Dimitrov had something to do with it, but like, I don't think Fontenot has anything to do with, like, you know, these coaching hires at this point. And like, I don't know. It's a very bizarre situation, but
we got to let go of the past. If you want to be upset with the coaching, look no further than who Ricky Morris was coaching against today. That man could have been the Falcons coach. I know we had a lengthy discussion about last week on the postgame show, but Mike Vrabel, the man wins challenges. He wins close games. He knows how to adjust. Mike Vrabel wins, and they could add him if you're looking at it. So just let go of the past and just kind of see what other teams are doing.
Yep, that's a good point. And we have a couple in here about my echo. Thank you to Brandon Brass and Big Daddy Land letting me know about that among the many people in the chat. So I will be going back and editing out the echo at the beginning of the show. But thank you for the warning there. Brandon Brass with the $2 asking, why is Zach Robinson fading the targets to Bijan? I don't know why Zach Robinson does anything, to be honest with you. So,
wait, hold on, talk about. Did Bijan get like 10 targets?
I think he got plenty of targets today. I mean, you know, they weren't necessarily like all the most productive targets like we've seen some years in the past, but I do think that Bijan's still getting targets. I think the issue is more like Bijan has to be a wide receiver because outside of Drake London, there's no consistent wide receiver play on this football team. And Darnell Mooney has been a disappointment. And they seem obsessed with playing David Sills when he offers absolutely nothing in the passing game. I mean, I think David Sills is a Drake London backup only. Like, he doesn't separate. He could make some contested catches like London. So obviously if you don't have London, I mean, maybe you want that same type of body and he can block, but like, we need someone that can play receiver, like that can get separation. Like, this is why like cutting Ray McLeod was really stupid. Like, and again, it's like, yeah, Ray doesn't block super well, but he did give you something as a third receiver. Now they have nothing. And again, I'm going to keep hammering this. I don't like Ray, that whole thing stinks to me. That whole thing stinks to high heaven. What happened with Ike Hilliard and Ray McLeod and all these guys, that is one of the most concerning things to me of this whole season, is why a receiver coach was fired a few weeks into the season, and then the receiver that was known to be the biggest proponent of that coach is just kind of shuffled out of the team and benched and all this. Like, and like, I don't mind like getting snaps for other receivers, like if you want to try stuff, but like moving on from that guy, like you can't work this out. Like it stinks to me, Alan. I don't know what else to say.
And from what everything's been reported, he was really well liked in the locker room, and he was a key part of the offense last year. So look, we don't know the reasoning behind the release, but it's bizarre to see a player who played such a prominent role, who at one point I thought was like Kirk Cousins' favorite target on third down last year, all of a sudden just be completely faded. And there's been no succession plan either. That's the other really concerning thing, is just the fact that they just released him. It's like, all right, we're going to trust the players on our roster, while they haven't really elevated anyone from the practice squad. And we just know who these guys are at this point. Like Casey Washington just doesn't do enough and still is just a blocker. So you watch the best teams in the league, they have a plethora of receivers. Like I'm going to use the Chiefs as an example again. Like look at what they're offering. You look at teams like the Rams, maybe not the Eagles or even the Lions, but like the Bucks. Like, dude, the Bucks were on their fifth, sixth receivers, and they're still operating pretty efficiently offensively. Like, regardless of how great star power you have, you need depth, especially at the receiver position, especially for a quarterback who is still very much a work in progress. And the fact that you're not giving him viable options, I think it's a disservice to him, and you can add to the laundry list of coaching issues.
Yeah, I agree. It's very frustrating to me, and I'm just tired of talking about it. Like like you said before the show, I want to talk about Drake London and Michael Penix going on a game-tying drive to give the Falcons a chance, and we can't even talk about that because they missed a goddamn extra point. Like,
the Falcons had 3 one-handed catches today.
Yeah.
2 of them were insane. One was just a casual one by Bijan. That's what I'm saying. Like Bijan had targets. Like you can't say Bijan didn't get targets when he had literally 2 one-handed catches. I can see maybe you're frustrated that Bijan's been limited to like just checkdowns. I think they tried to slot fade with him, which is a little bizarre on a third down where he got lost in the sun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, I don't know.
I think he would have had a chance at it, like if he could see the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's just something that happens from time to time with where the sun is, and maybe with the daylight savings, it caught him by surprise there. So
it's like a slot fade with your running back on third down. Like
that's bold. I'll give him that. But yeah, I mean it's like that's where we are with this. Like we're going to slot fades to the running back, but and like that's where we are offensively. So that's not the best thing in the world to see on a day-by-day basis here. But we got Alexander Talum with $2. Thank you. Does Drake sign his extension? All we do is lose. Yeah, Drake's going to sign an extension. Yeah,
give it some.
Not worried about that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not concerned about that. He's going to included. He's not going anywhere. Yeah. And Solaire with the $2 says, whose work? 19 to 20 Dirk Cutter or Zach Robinson. I'm starting to lean Zach Robinson. I don't know. I might need the full season of data to answer this one. I mean, right now, like Robinson's definitely doing less with more than Dirk Cutter was, I would say. But yeah,
it's hard because those teams were pretty hopeless. Like those Falcons teams were bad in 2019, 2020. Like that those teams would have never done what they did against the Bills.
Yeah.
Like, the Falcons team has shown signs that they can be legitimately good. I know it's hard to comprehend that, but I mean, look, they beat the Vikings. Like, say we want the Vikings, that's still a really good win in a very daunting environment. This team has shown flashes they can play at the best. Those 2019, 2020 teams, they were pretty hopeless. So even though credit to them, they did beat the Saints pretty bad, and they beat a very good Niners team. But still, like, that team was 1-7. Come on now.
Yeah.
So,
those teams were just much worse. Yeah. So, well, we'll see how that goes. I think we need the full season data, but yeah, I mean, I still think Z-Rob's fresher in the mind, so we'll call him. We've dunked on Dirk Cutter enough. We can give Zach Robinson his credit here. We got Rise Up RXMs with the 2 saying, happily, it wasn't the Bertrand debacle 2.0. Otherwise, thumbs down. Yeah, I mean, Bertrand played a lot less, and that was good. I'm not sure why he played at all. I don't recall him making many positive contributions. They're obsessed with him. Like, I don't know any other player that would get this much leash. Like,
you think it's a draft pick thing?
I don't understand how it could be. He's a day 3 pick. He's a day 3 pick that like Raheem Morris like barely had anything to do with. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like, if you're that concerned about your day 3 picks that you're forcing them onto the field, like that's not good. Like, I mean, like it's a day 3 pick. Like they're not like it's a crapshoot. Every single one's a crapshoot. Like if he's not good, like, don't put him out there. It's gonna make your draft look worse if he plays and looks terrible. If he just rides the bench, it's like, okay, well, he could be good, could be bad. We don't know. He hasn't played. If you put him out there and he looks god awful, then we know he's bad. So I don't get that angle. But I mean, like, it has to be something like that because I can't think of any other reason.
It's this point, like, this team doesn't show any willingness to sign or make signings during the season. Like, I remember Mike Smith, Dan Quinn, like, they wouldn't be hesitant to make moves if they had to. Like, I remember, I forgot who the D tackle was. I think he used to play for the Seahawks. I remember 2017, the Falcons could not stop the run the first 2 months. And then they got some D tackle from Seattle. Oh, I wish I remembered his name. And they made some strides against the run. And like, I remember like 2009. The memory's being tested here, but I remember the Falcons corners were getting destroyed in a preseason game against the Chargers, and then they went to go get Brian Williams, and they tried to trade for Ty Hill. Like, those coaching staffs were proactive in making moves. Like, this coaching staff has showed no desire outside the kicking situation because they were pretty much forced to do it. They had no other choice. Like, between receiver, linebacker, and a nose tackle, like, do something.
They seem totally unwilling to make any signings. Like, we haven't had a signing since like Ben Sauls to the practice squad. Like, it's just bizarre and like just everywhere. They seem like just totally unwilling to shuffle, which again feels very out of character for Terry Fontenot. So I wonder if it's not really his call because we've seen Fontenot constantly shuffle the roster like in years past and the practice squad especially, and they've been very, very reluctant to do that this year. They elevated Dylan Drummond again today, so that's like his second elevation, and they didn't play him a single snap. So, like, it's just like, why is he being elevated? Like, you clearly weren't going to give him any snaps, so, like, why is he being elevated? Like, just in case of injury? Like, I mean, it's just, like, I don't know why David Sills. We're back on David Sills. I'm sorry, like David Sills. I'm sorry, buddy. This is not about you. This is about the coaching staff. Kadero Hodge offers you more. Like, why did we bench Kadero Hodge for David Sills? Like, Hodge is a good blocker too. So what has Hodge got to do? Like, Hodge has been a more dynamic and consistent contributor on the offense, and he's like relegated to the bench now. Like, why are we like clearing the decks for David Sills? I just don't get it.
Like, the receiver position went from a legitimate strength last year to now a glaring flaw. And you just see what happened to McLeod. Mooney's just not part of the offense, and Hodge barely gets snaps. And all three of those players were an asset last year. And now all of a sudden they're just either washed away or just running sprints at this point in Darnell Mooney's case. So I don't know. Do you think it's time? Because I really want to get to this I want to highlight the defensive front. Look, 6 sacks is nothing this deserves recognition. And I just thought many instances players were winning a one-on-one. Like, this wasn't them blitzing more than 50% against the Bills or running a lot of schematic pressures like they did against the Vikings. I thought players were actually winning up front. So what did you see between the pass rush? Because it didn't seem like they blitzed in certain instances, but I thought they were winning. And it's just like, we've been waiting to see this.
Yeah, like I mean, to me, it's like I would have considered blitzing more. I understand why they didn't, because they really wanted to keep the Patriots guessing. Like, they didn't want to get into this where now they're just expecting blitz on every snap and they get sort of comfortable with their blitz beaters. Ulbrich was trying to switch it up and keep them off balance, and I think it worked. Like, when they didn't blitz, they struggled, but like, I mean, you can't just blitz every snap either. So like, I get what they were doing. And I think ultimately, like, after a really rough first half, they clamped down in the second half and ended up playing a pretty solid game overall, I would say. And you said it, like, a lot of just great individual efforts. I thought Jalen Walker, like, this is what I tried to tell people the last couple of weeks. It's like, Jalen Walker's like one of their best run defenders. He just gives you a lot of options on the edge. They were just kind of lacking without him in the lineup. And we saw it today. Critical pass breakup, to give the Falcons a shot that they promptly squandered, of course, but that shot doesn't happen without Drake London getting his hands on that pass. And London obviously had the strip sack that was critical to get the touchdown before the half. And Brandon Dorlus looks awesome. Like, he was just breaking through and chasing down the quarterback, showing off his lateral mobility as he was a part-time edge rusher in college, folks. Never forget. Rook, I thought, had some good reps. Like, we saw Lakeil London shed and get a sack on, like, pretty much everybody. I saw Sam Roberts get a nice play, like, against the run. Like, everyone out there was, like, making plays. And it's critical. And I think all of these defensive linemen are, like, quality players for this team. Like, even the more depth guys like London and Sam Roberts, it just kind of comes back to, some of their weaknesses and their ability to kind of shut down teams against the run. But I think all these guys look like really talented pass rushers, and this is like a good core. Like, I'm excited about the future of this defensive line for sure.
Well said. And I want to highlight him because he had a great 2-play sequence. But before that, did you hear anything about Arnold Ebiketie and trade rumors?
Yes, I mean, there was like buzz about it. I think, like, well, Ebiketie tweeted out something cryptic like, "Oh, news on Dr. Pass Rush coming soon" or something. Like, I don't really read into that, guys, ever. But, like, and then there was like I can't remember which insider was talking about it, but just that Ebiketie was involved. Validity. Yeah, and like at this point, I would trade him, like, without question. I would trade Ebiketie. I would trade Algier. Like, they're done. Like, they're not making the playoffs. I don't believe that they have a shot at that. So I would start selling the contract to your guys because they need picks desperately. They got to get picks. So
they do, but I think you have to wait to see what happens with Leonard Floyd. If Leonard Floyd has a significant injury, I don't think you could just have Walker and Pierce as your own lone edge guys.
Khalid Kareem, buddy. Let's go.
We're doing that again. Hey, Matthew Judon might not be on our roster soon.
There we go. We can bring him back. Yeah.
But no, I think we have to wait and see Leonard Floyd, because I think if Leonard Floyd's out, you can't just have those two, even though they need all the reps possible. But I want to mention Ebiketie because he had a great 8-yard TFL where he just completely shut down the edge. Great penetration. Then he had a nasty spin move inside. Ebiketie, I think it's just for 15, 20 snaps, he has his moments. I don't think you can play him full time. I think it's pretty clear that he's just not that player. But he just has these moments where it's just like, all right, this guy could use his hands and he's crafty. Like, he's a worthwhile player.
Yeah. I think he's a very solid, like, third edge rusher in a rotation. Right. I think he's perfect for that role. I think he definitely, like, on a good defensive line, I think he'll make plays. Like, I think, like, if he's not the focus of attention, which, like, this Falcons team made him, like, their number one pass rusher in some cases. It's like, that is asking a lot. But yeah, to me, like, what you're saying about Leonard Floyd is true. To me, it's like, we're kind of cooked. So, like, I would just, if people are willing to send me picks for any contract year players, I'm considering it, because, like, this is, like, our only opportunity to do that. And it's like, I kind of don't care to some extent if, like, the team isn't good. Like,
I know, but you also have to look at it from a
right.
front office coaching standpoint.
Yeah,
like, think about it. It goes back to James Pierce trade. Like, they made that trade so aggressively. Like, I don't have Arthur Blank discussion again because we did last week. But in a way, aren't they in the kind of mode where they can't be sellers? They're kind of coaching for their jobs.
Well, yeah, you're right about that. Yeah. The difference between them and us is that I already think they're done. Like, I think they're fired and it's over, but they probably don't think. Like, the Fontenot thing, I think, is actually interesting. Like, I actually am pro Fontenot. I don't believe Fontenot has ever had a chance to pick his own coach. I think, because we know Fontenot was hired, like, simultaneously or after Arthur Smith. He didn't pick Arthur Smith. He also wasn't seemingly involved in hiring Raheem Morris. Now, apparently they're cool working together and all that, but that's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. So, and I think Fontenot's coming off his best draft.
He must have been jumping up and down today. Got it.
Yes.
A sequence where Walker gets the strip sack and then Pierce recovers it. Like, that's the.
So it's like, to me, I would like, have we ever handed this thing to Terry Fontenot, the general manager, who I think is actually a good general manager? Like, have we ever given him the keys and let him build the team that he wants? Or are we building Rich McKay's team? Who Rich McKay doesn't even seem to know if he's involved in the day-to-day of the Falcons. He contradicted himself in his own interview where he's like, oh yeah, I wasn't involved. Yeah, I remember sitting in on all those coaching meetings and picking the next head coach. Yeah, totally. We can't trust anything that comes out of his mouth or anything this team says about Rich McKay's involvement. And, like, maybe what we should do is just let Terry Fontenot run the damn show. Like, yeah, has Terry Fontenot been perfect? Absolutely not. Fontenot has many things that he's done wrong. He's mismanaged some things. He's had some poor drafts, but I think he's maybe finally gotten it together. I think this draft might be his magnum opus. I think he's always managed the cap pretty well. I don't think he had anything to do with the two biggest blunders, which were trying to trade for Deshaun Watson. We know where that came from, and it wasn't Terry Fontenot. And this whole Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix snafu. I don't think Terry Fontenot had anything to do with that. I think that was Fontenot doing what he was told, which was, we need a quarterback. Go get the best quarterback you can. And he's like, okay, Kirk Cousins, let's do it. And then the Raheem Morris and the coaching staff getting infatuated with Michael Penix, which maybe that's a good thing. Like, maybe Penix is our quarterback of the future, and maybe that's not bad. But, like, I don't think any general manager, especially Terry Fontenot, who has been very, like, careful with the cap space, typically, would go out and pay a quarterback and then want to draft a quarterback. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think that's Fontenot. So, like, maybe we should just, I don't know, give Fontenot a chance here. And, like, that also means, like, if Fontenot thinks we should sell because the season is done, then we should sell. So, I don't know. But
strong points. And look, if any organization has shown that they're willing to stick their GM and fire the coach, look at the Falcons. You look at with Mike Smith and Thomas Dimitrov. You look at Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot. Like, Arthur Blank is one to stick with the GM. It's just the idea of having 5 consecutive losing seasons. Like, how do you justify that?
yeah,
And
I get it.
so there's just certain things that they work against Terry Fontenot. But
Of course.
no, this draft class does look like a hit. And going back to personnel, but just seeing what Jalen Walker is bringing right now. Like, when he's dropping the coverage, look, I know the whole Pop Douglas play. No player his size is gonna stick with Pop Douglas, but
No, that's crazy.
Yeah, like, just well-designed play. They cut by some mismatch, but credit to Hunter Henry, he made a great catch. But
that was great coverage. Yeah,
like, hand right there.
Yeah,
and like, I thought he played an integral part against the Bills where he was dropping the coverage, and the Bills couldn't find space underneath because it's just he was covering up a lot of ground, and so he's like their. We talk about Kalen Ellis being such a great weapon, like he's so versatile. Now you have 2 players that are so versatile, and they can be utilized in different ways, and they can handle it covering the short area of the field. But then they also have the length on the edge where they can make it keep the pass bag down or pass breakup, however you want to describe it. But yeah, that was great. And then now we're finally seeing him utilized on stunts because Jalen Walker is an athletic freak, and seeing him, I think it was with Dorless. Dorless was causing so much problems too. And I think that's where, like, the Falcons if they could just build their defense where they get teams third long, they're gonna be successable. Like, they need to get teams third long, and it's not just because that's where you see the blitzes come about. It's just this front is so fast. Like, they could set up different 4 players depending on their deep rotation and just cause havoc. So I think that's the plan. But the issue is they just can't stop the run. So
yeah,
that's the conundrum right now. But kudos to them, and like 6 sacks and seeing them rattle, because, like, to me, Drake May has been playing at top 5 level, and there were numerous occasions where Drake May either lost balance, got rattled. Like, Drake May has punched a lot of teams with his feet. He maybe had 1 or 2 scrambles that were successful. Other than that, he was falling to the ground more times than not. So huge kudos to a front that has looked pretty disappointed the last few weeks, but now they're finally winning. And you're even seeing a guy like, I know you've been high on Rook over the past few weeks. Have you been really encouraged by him? Because I think he's showing more flashes.
Yeah, like, Rook will every once in a while just have a play where he gets washed out or whatever. I mean, he's undersized, but you'll also see plays where he just dominates right off the snap. And I think that more than makes up for that. And you could tell why, like, the Falcons were interested in him very high, because his package of tools is incredible. Like, you can see it and how quickly he can win reps and just dominate. And if he can do that with consistency, he could be an all-pro. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I think Ororo has continued to play better. And again, it's like, I just think they just need a 2-gapper. Like, they just need someone to free these guys up a little bit. Like, if this team had, like, this is obviously crazy, but if the Falcons had Vita Vea, they would be like the number 1 defense in the NFL. No one would be running in that A gap, and the rest of the defensive line is so talented. Like, if they didn't have to worry about people getting past Vea in the middle or another nose tackle, shout out to Dante Corleone. Okay, need the Godfather in here next year to my draft. That's your draft take, Solaire. I know you've been asking for it. But, like, just
we're nearing there.
We're getting there. Right? It's almost there, right? But, like, that's one thing they can do. This, like, keep an eye on the waiver wire. Do we see a nose tackle get cut loose because we need one? Or just have Lakeil London just like pound, like, I don't know, like sit that man down at Waffle House every day and just all-star specials until there's nothing more he can take, and just let's see if we can get him up to like 330 by the time December rolls around. But it's not good weight. It's not good weight, so that's not going to necessarily be great for anybody, but that's the only other thing I can think of if they're not willing to sign somebody. So
oh man, well, I'm trying to think, what can you eat in Boston right now to get ready for the Colts? Like, can we get him like something to put on 5-7 pounds? Like, 'cause, man, Quinn Nelson, Matt Galles, Tanner Borlini, these guys are coming. But nevertheless, yeah, I'm hugely encouraged with the D-line as a whole, despite the run defending woes. And hey, Jesse Bates got interception. I was happy for him. I still think he's struggling a bit. Seems like the missed tackles are still happening every week, but I see Jesse Bates capitalizing on the moment.
Yeah, it's yeah, I agree with you there. I Jesse Bates started this game rough, and so that pick was nice to see him. That was a huge effort play coming back to that one, and just a miscommunication that he took advantage of. So I hope this can sort of set off Bates's second half surge, because Watts has been very good. So like if Bates can get back to where we expect him to be, this safety tandem could be the difference for this team defensively, like long term. And I still have total faith in Jesse Bates has earned so much leash. It's kind of unbelievable. Yeah. Like that, it's like I get this is a new role for him. He's been playing a lot closer to the box, and it is a difference. Like, it's a difference in how you feel. The angles are different. You're closer to the line of scrimmage. It's a little bit more difficult to see stuff. It takes some adjustment, but I kind of applaud Bates for being willing to like a lot of these star players would kind of probably bristle at being asked to like change positions, and it's kind of a bold strategy to have your all-pro like switch to being more of a box safety. But Bates seemed like he kind of took to it and was interested in it and trying it, and if he can just like take that step to being comfortable in that role and getting like, maybe at some point this season we'll see it. He can be so dangerous as like a robber, as a guy that drops down into that short area. And we know he's a good tackler. Like, just give him a chance. I'm just not worried about Bates. I know some people are. It's like, he's earned so much like benefit of the doubt that I'm not even close. Like, he could have a down year and I would still be confident going into next year. So
if this team was over 500, I think we'd be talking about a lot less. It's just right now, this team is in survival mode. It's just like, you just wish he had like 4 interceptions somehow, or forced a couple of fumbles. He just set the bar so high, but no, he was a superhero last year and 2 years ago. So I mean, regardless of what happened this year, he's still one of the best signings in franchise history in my book. And I'm hoping Billy Bowman could come back, because look, he's played better this year, but there's still his mistakes are just so noticeable with D. Alford, like that blown coverage on Pop Douglas. He gets blown right away. Doesn't get
he gets owned off this, and he had another play in this game that was phenomenal, like breaking up that deep pass. That was a great play.
That was good too.
Yeah, the
breakdowns are bad.
Yeah, when they happen, they're rough. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, this team is, and again, it's like a frustrating watch, and it's frustrating. There's no doubt about that. All right, we got a few more donations here. We'll get to, guys. We got Rise Up RX with another 5. Thank you so much, Rise Up. Appreciate you. This was the most Falcons way to lose. Didn't spend any time on special teams in the offseason, knowing there's issues, and it bit us again. Yeah, like, this is one I do want to harp on, and it's like, Parker Romo has been a fill-in level kicker. And like, you can go with that for a couple weeks, but you need to be looking for somebody that you can stick with all year. Parker Romo has been so inconsistent that you can't stick with him, that this is not going to work. He's going to cost you games. So you needed to be actively looking for another option. And they sort of like gave up on looking for anybody else. They signed Ben Sauls. They never really gave him a real chance, it seems like. But like, they've sort of given up and just kind of put their hands up and given the job to Parker Romo. And he once again costs you in a big spot, where we know why Parker Romo isn't a starting kicker anywhere in the NFL. It's because he's inconsistent. Can he make the kicks? Yes. Will he make the kicks consistently? No. And that's why he can't be your starting kicker. And I'll be, if he's still the kicker next week, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, we have to try something else. It's just like, he's not a bad player. Like, I'm not trying to dunk on Parker Romo here or anything. He is a fill-in level NFL kicker. He will probably stick around the NFL for many years because he can get you a game or two of quality performance. But he's not a season-long kicker, and we've seen why. It's because he's just very inconsistent in all aspects. Like, it's if he was just inconsistent from 50 plus, you can live with that. We've seen kickers make a living off of just being super accurate, sort of sniper guys in the short area, and 50 plus is a little bit more of a crapshoot, but whatever. Parker Romo can miss from anywhere, like anywhere. No kick is safe. You can't plan around it. He's just gonna miss kicks. So you can't build your special teams around that. I'm so surprised that this guy is still their kicker, and they haven't made any real effort to move off of him, and that has to stop. Like this, if this isn't the wake up call that Marquise Williams needed, I don't know what the wake up call is going to be. But man, it's ugly out there.
They kind of just put themselves in a spot with handling the Koo situation. Even though I wanted to give Koo another chance, I was definitely an advocate for it. Couldn't have been more wrong, and this coaching staff could have been more wrong. So it's just that some of their off-season playing, they're feeling the consequences of it, and now it's just having to make these adjustments in season is difficult. And if you don't hit a gem, like the Niners hit a gem, like I saw Panero hit a 54-yarder today, like
they tried to sign him. He
yeah.
just wanted to sign with San Francisco, which good call. Pinheiro for sure, but
so it always kind of comes down to the coaching, the roster construction. But what more can you do? Just every week you're hoping they can make the adjustments, and they made a few today, but just nowhere near good enough. And I just think you're playing these teams that are going to be playing in January, and just the margin of error is so small, and time again, just the self-inflicted wounds, and just I also feel like a lot of games now you're seeing the pre-snap issues. And I think this has been happening since week 1, where they had 2 or 3 false starts against the Bucs.
Yeah,
like winning teams don't have this much pre-snap issues.
Yeah,
and it's been like that time and time again. So yeah, like I'm encouraged by like the talent on this roster. I think there's still a lot to build with, but I don't know how you expect to win consistently when the down distances are rough. Can't convert on third down. Literally now we're having 3 weeks of post-game discussion where either players or coaches are talking about how the team knew where we were running. It's like, what more can we do? Like, this isn't acceptable.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. It's just that, like, their refusal. Like, it's one thing to get your ass kicked. It's gonna happen. Like we talked about it. Every team's gonna have stinkers. Like every team. It's another thing to like get your ass kicked multiple times and then be like, well, we just need to execute better. No, you don't need to just execute better. Take some responsibility for what you're doing. Like, why is the team struggling to execute? Why is it so difficult for things to go right? Why are there so many pre-snap penalties? Why is the kicking game still a problem? Like, and like if you've been shuffling through kickers and every one of them sucks, it's like, okay, well maybe just we can't find anyone. But you've stuck with Parker. You've made one change and you've stuck with it all season and it's not working. It's clear that they don't trust him and like they still keep him out there. So it's very uninspiring, and the arrogance just, if it sticks in your craw, guys, that's normal. Like nobody likes arrogance. I mean, maybe some people do, but I certainly don't.
I mean, be arrogant when you're winning, or you could be arrogant like,
right.
He wasn't really arrogant, but like I was a little surprised London didn't get called for a taunting, which, hey, thank you, Russ, for letting him have his moment. Damn, London was going hard with the toss. Like, all right, also play, but damn, this team.
You've been working hard, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it on their face. Offense. Like, I can just see it on the players' faces. They're so pent up. They're so like tight. Like the fact that like, and again, this just goes back to the whole Ike Hilliard, Ray McLeod thing. Like, I feel like that whole thing is the canary in the coal mine. Like, this is not a healthy operation. Like this, something's rotten to the core here. Where like we're firing respected like. It'd be one thing to fire some like random assistant, right? Ike Hilliard was arguably like the most respected veteran coach on the offense outside of like Dwayne Ledford. Dwayne Ledford's probably the most respected, and rightfully so. Ike Hilliard was like the second most respected guy who's basically had a stellar record, coached up Hall of Fame caliber receivers throughout his career, and he gets fired in the first quarter of the season after week 3. And then you shuffle the guy that was his biggest supporter out afterwards. Like, Killiard, please call me. Like, fine. Like, I need to know like what's going on here because it stinks. It stinks to high heaven, and that to me is it's worse than anything else. Like, yeah, like the scheme sucks, and like these guys, like this coaching staff is really struggling, and so on and so forth. Whatever, but if this is as rotten as I think it is with how like they're handling criticism from the inside of the team. And again, I don't have any insider information on this. This is purely my speculation, so I'm not saying this is sourced or real or whatever, but I'm not the only one that's coming up with this conclusion because of how totally unusual this situation is. It's very strange, and given everything else that's going on with this team, it just feels like there's something rotten at the core, Alan, and I can't really put my finger on it.
Yeah. Did you see quotes from John Abraham after last week's game? He was just talking about how there was no fire, no body language, like the body language is bad. Like when a Hall of Fame caliber player is saying that, where he just sees a lack of desire, especially in a home game where you're coming off a loss and the talent's there. It's how you're not going to question leadership up top, because body language goes a long way. And if we've seen over the course of almost the past decade now what bad body language looks like, because the Falcons have been bad for nearly that long. So I don't want to spend all this time speculating, but I just think the facts that we know of is that the last 3 weeks, I want to continue to harp on this, but we've heard quotes where players or coaches talk about the opponents know their play calls. We knew Drake London, when he was motioning, they were going to run out to him on 4th and 1. And a cornerback, Chase Lucas, who had 30 snaps before that game against the Falcons as a pro, couldn't have anticipated any better and resulted in the 4th down stop. Raheem Morris literally said last week it felt like Miami knew what we were running. And then we see a simulated today. It's just when you see these comments coming out in the midst of a 3-game losing streak, how are you going to adjust to it? What are you going to do? Run more wide outside zone?
I could tell you. They're going to say we need to execute better. We got to clean some stuff up, and nothing will change because they seem pretty convinced that it's not a coaching problem. And look, like it's hard. Like there is like, and this is something we talked about with multiple. This is like we've had this conversation so many times. Like we keep coming to the same points, but like there is a reason that coaches are arrogant and don't want to change what they're doing, because that's how they got to this point. If you're not if you're not confident in yourself and what you're doing, you won't cut it in the NFL, period. Like you will get eaten up and spit out and cast aside. If you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to make it. So these coaches are usually like psycho level, like arrogant in themselves, because that's what you have to do to succeed in the NFL. Like if you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you? So I get that this is inherent in almost every coach, but the coaches that succeed and stay afloat the longest are the ones that are able to have that self-confidence while also being willing to change and being willing to adjust what they're doing when it's not working, being willing to question if they're truly if they're doing the best they can for their team, if the scheme is the best it can be, like not taking it personally necessarily that like stuff isn't going well and not being like, wow, I suck. And instead being like, I need to make these changes for the team. Like the scheme is fine. We just need to adjust some things and we'll be good. And instead of digging your heels in, because the coaches that dig their heels in, I can't recall a time where the coaches have been called out for being like not willing to change and there's been a bad offense. And then like they dug their heels in and it worked out for them, because it just seems to cause the problems to spiral out of control. So that's the situation we're in with both Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson right now. And I don't know, George Costanza is saying, Coach Giggles, who I believe he's saying is Raheem Morris, and Coach Zach Robinson have to go. Also saying the draft trade was fine. Pierce Jr. and Xavier Watts, absolutely worth it. He's saying also we should use a high pick on an elite kicker. I don't know about that one. Troy Anderson is missed. Yeah. And then also the final is season is over, but if you're an offensive-minded coach, ATL should be a good job. I agree with that too. I think the Falcons are clearly somewhere where a bold and confident offensive coach can come in and do a fixed job here and get a big bounce back season from this roster. So there are some things I think that this team has to offer. So
It's just this point that everyone talks about how attractive Atlanta is as a job, and it's just you want to see a team turn that appeal into wins.
they just seem to be making the wrong decision. I think it has been an attractive job. I think Terry Fontenot is a desirable general manager to work with, and I think he's gone out of his way to accommodate his coaches probably too much, I guess you could argue. Like, maybe he should kind of put his foot down a little bit more and protect his assets, but, jury's still out on this Pierce Jr. trade, but I still think, like, Watts is great, and if James Pierce Jr. is a good pass rusher, it's like, you just traded a first rounder for a first rounder, so I don't really, want to criticize that too much for a while, but, yeah, it's a tough spot.
He's pretty intelligent. Like he hasn't, the bend's not quite there, but when he has like dropping coverage or defensive run, like I actually thought he was one of the better players against Miami, and he made a nice play to affect Hunter Henry on like a quick checking down. Like, I think there's a football player there. It's just considering the draft capitals go up for him. I think we would like to see a lot more from him as edge rusher. So that's where I'm not going to say he's definitely not been a hit. I don't think anyone could say conclusively like he's been that good enough. But I think you see more in the flashes. Like there's a player there. It's just out of the four players, I think he's been by far the least productive. In that. I know Bowman's been out, but Bowman's obviously shows some big flashes, and we've seen what Watson Walker could do. So that would help. But no, this draft class is very promising, and Fontenot needs it for sure. We're talking about Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson, and think about where they came from. In early 2023, Sean McVay actually could seriously consider retirement. He was so embarrassed by that 2022 season that he felt like he was done. And he used to be so reliant on 11 personnel, and he was just a very pass-heavy attack. And then that 2023 season, he started utilizing more 12 personnel, started running more duo, getting away from the zone. Like he kind of morphed this offense, like having Matt Stafford do more under center play action. And we're talking about Sean McVay here. Like he was willing to evolve. He looked himself in the mirror as like, forget that, because I think a lot of coaches in that position, if you run the 2022 Rams, they got absolutely obliterated by injuries. This is after their Super Bowl year where they went all in. But the Rams, they were starting Baker Mayfield at one point. That's when Baker was at the low point of his career. And McVay going to 2023 basically changed his offensive philosophy. And who was on that coaching staff? Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson. So if you're telling me one of the best coaches in this last decade of football could evolve and take accountability, why can't anyone else? Because I think there's about 28 to 30 teams that wish Sean McVay was their head coach for the level of standard he set with his coaching. So something just to consider. I don't know. I think it's probably too late for it to happen, but I think a lot of people could be inspired by what Sean McVay did, because it would have been very easy for him to retire at that point, being a Super Bowl winning coach. And apparently he was getting a lot of offers to be a commentator, and we know how much those commentators make. Just look at Troy Aikman's contract. But no, McVay said, I'm sticking it. I'm going to still compete. And look at the Rams. They're competing every year now.
Yeah. So we will I think McVay is a great example of what I'm talking about, with like a guy that's willing to change. Like the Rams and the 49ers too, like Kyle Shanahan, were also wide zone obsessed teams. They had their system, they ran it, and I think they all recognize like the wide zone has become so widespread in the NFL. Defenses are being built to stop the wide zone because it's kind of the soup du jour of rushing schemes in the NFL. And they were like, we got to diversify or we're going to get bogged down. And they did that. And I think it's made them continue to be at the forefront of rushing attacks in the NFL. They can keep teams guessing. Like the diverse run game, I think, is always going to be the way to go for teams, because your opponents can't sell out then. If they have to respect both the inside gap run and zone running, they really can't key on anything. They can't, and that's like the whole thing about why McVay's scheme works so well, and why the Falcons scheme is such a pale, poor imitation, is because Zach Robinson took some lessons from McVay, but he took just a couple of them and not all of them. The Rams, for existence, one of their core concepts is that they marry their pass game and run game concepts into the same formations and motions. So they'll run like a Puka Nacua motion from the slot to outside or whatever it is. And they will run a variety of plays from that exact same motion. So that way the defense can't just look at where Nacua goes and be like, oh, well, this is now going to be an out route to Nacua, or, oh, they're going to run behind where Nacua is running. And it's really not that complicated. It seems kind of like an obvious thing, but a lot of teams in the NFL don't do this. They have motions just for runs and just for passes, and it makes them predictable. But the Rams have kind of pioneered this style of offense where they have the same personnel and the same formations almost every play, but because they run out of that same formation and use the same motions and everything, they're actually incredibly difficult to figure out because everything looks the same and they give nothing away pre-snap. Giving up that advantage is like taking a 25%, I'm going to use a World of Warcraft term here. You get a 25% debuff, like you're 25% less effective because you've chosen now to telegraph what you're doing. That like moment where the defense has to guess or they don't know what's coming makes all the difference in the world in the NFL, where you can't just out execute your opponent. That's not enough at this level. There's too much here. There's too much going on. There's too many good players on the opposing defense. You can't just out effort or out execute them. You have to give your players a schematic advantage, and the Falcons aren't even willing to do that. And it's just like, I'm so upset with Zach Robinson. It's like, why couldn't you take the most important lessons from Sean McVay? Why can't you just look at what your mentor's doing and do that?
Incredibly well said. And how about look at your rivals right now? Do you think Dave Canales went into that Packers game? We're going to out execute them. We're going to outwork them. No, Dave Canales realized we're going against arguably, if not the NFC favorites, one of the top 5 teams in the league. I'm going to have to put together a really strategic game plan, and we're going to just have to control the ball. Also, we had watched that game. You see a couple stats here and there. Rico Dowdle. Oh, my goodness. But there's no way Dave Canales went to the Packers game to say we have to just out-execute and outwork them. No, you have to attempt to out-coach one of the best coaches in Matt LaFleur, and let the Panthers are getting the job done. There's no way you look at the Panthers roster and think this team should be over 500. That is still a team that's very much rebuilding. That defense lacks talent in a lot of areas. But you know what? They continue to overachieve, and they continue to win these close games. And that's a testament to adaptable coaching and a play caller who is becoming an all-around head coach. Because Dave Canales has taken a lot of lumps, but he has clearly shown that he's willing to change. Look no further. He told one of his players, one of his guys that helped bring the franchise into somewhat respectability again, Chuba Hubbard, I can't play you right now. Like, Rico's just proven to be the guy.
Yeah.
That's a coach that's willing to make those changes. And it's all about being adaptable and losing the ego. And I think, I hate to bring up Arthur Smith again, but he kind of couldn't drop the
Same
ego
issue.
when that happened. So, Raheem Morris seems like a delightful guy to hang around with, to talk to, and he seems to be very well respected across the league. But between him and Zach Robinson, it does seem like the ego's there. And we kind of saw a little bit of signs last year when it came to like the whole analytics. Like, he was just always kind of making fun of analytics, and then he wasn't taking the situational play calling. Like, he was a little bit defensive about that. Ego, it could be your worst friend. And we're seeing
It can.
that.
It's so necessary, and it's so dangerous. Like, it's really a difficult relationship, and I think that's why it's so hard to tell before guys get in the chair, like, how they're going to handle it, because the arrogance and the ego is like a requirement to succeed at the NFL level. But like, how much is too much, and can you figure that out like before they get the chair themselves? Like, it's so hard to say, and
You have to moderate it. That's it.
Yeah. So you got to find guys who have that humility and that ability to look inwards instead of, like, you need the arrogance, because if you stop believing in yourself, then you're done. We know that. But you have to be able to maintain confidence while also being able to admit that, like, it's okay to make changes or to scrap things that don't work. That doesn't make you a bad coach. It actually makes you a good coach, because continuing to do the wrong thing because you came up with it is I would say worse than trying to fix it. Like, admit that you're doing something wrong and fix it. That to me is more impressive than being right from the very beginning. So,
I have one more example I want to give before we can answer a few more questions. And Raheem Morris, here's another example he could use inspiration from. 2019, let's not forget, who was the defensive coordinator? It was Dan Quinn. And by, I believe it was week 6 against Arizona, he let go of defensive play calling. He put, I believe, Jeff Ulbrich on 1st and 2nd down, and then Raheem Morris on 3rd, 4th down, and 2-minute situations. So Dan Quinn pretty much recognized that this team was, I believe, 1-5, and the defense was historically bad. And he just realized, I'm putting too much on my plate right now. Let me delegate. And it didn't save him too much time because he got fired next year, but I believe that change did save his job in 2019. Look, they embarrassed the Saints. They beat a Niners team that went to the Super Bowl, both on the road. They won some good games and pulled off some insane upsets. So Dan Quinn, salute to the great one. I always love me some Dan Quinn. He showed a willingness to change. Look, I know it did not last long.
It didn't always work. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
He was willing to change when he easily could have had a massive ego. Think about it. This man went to a Super Bowl. They went to a divisional round. Like, he easily could have been like, no, I'm going to go out my shield. But, he made the necessary changes to at least show some progress. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think ultimately Dan Quinn is going to be a successful NFL head coach. We saw glimpses of it in Atlanta. Obviously, it didn't work out long term, but I do think he has a special connection with players, and he does have the humility to recognize that maybe he shouldn't always call defensive plays. Maybe he should find someone that can really complement what he does. And I do think ultimately Dan Quinn will be a successful long-term head coach in the NFL. But
he's got a great start so far. Made the NFC Championship game. I know this year's not going too great, but he made the NFC Championship game, beat a Lions team that was all geared up, ready for that Super Bowl run.
Yeah. So
Dan Quinn's doing his thing.
Yeah, I respect Dan Quinn. It didn't end great here, but I still think like he's got a good head on his shoulders, and obviously helps that one of the nicest human beings like you can run into. He's just his niceness permeates like everything. Yeah, right. So it makes him easy to root for, and that's something Raheem has going for him too. Raheem's also a very just kind person, and just need him to get it together, And to me, it's weird that Raheem is so seemingly resistant, because he didn't strike me as that type of guy when he was hired. Like, he spent a lot of his early press conferences talking about all the lessons he learned as a young head coach, how he was too headstrong, how he was not willing to work with his assistants, not willing to take, stuff, and like he would go back and do it differently. And like, it feels like that was all lip service, because we're in the same situation now. Like, it's like so tone deaf. It's like, did you hear what you said? You're not doing that right now. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Yeah.
John Gruden, Monty Kiffin, Mike Shanahan, Sean McVay. He's worked with a lot of coaches. Yeah.
And he's being around all those guys. You should pick up some stuff. And I'm not seeing it, I'm not seeing it, unfortunately. All right, we're going to get to these.
More questions, we'll wrap?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up here with these final questions. We got Big Rax Russ with the $2. Thank you. Says, why me? I'm 25 years young, and I've supported this team through high school, now grad school. Shout out to the grad school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It says, but I guess the silver lining is that we're one step closer to firing Raheem Morris and having Ulbrich be the interim, ? I'm sick of flags in critical moments. Yeah, I mean, I still think it's unlikely they fire Raheem before the end of the season, unless like they go on a big losing streak, which like you saw them today. Like, they could have easily just won this game. Like, they can beat literally any team they play, and they could also lose to any team they play. There is no middle ground. There is no safe wins or losses. This team will probably not go on like a massive losing streak because of that, but they're also not going to win the 7 games they need to get to 10 wins and make the playoffs. So I think I think they're feeling a lot of pressure from the fan base. We've seen it. Like, Rich McKay goes on like a radio interview tour. I don't remember him doing that very often. I think they're feeling the pressure. I think they're feeling a lot of heat about how this team is performing. I don't believe Raheem will survive no playoffs. If they get like 10 wins and don't make the playoffs because of some craziness, like 3 11-win teams are the wild cards or something, okay, we can have that conversation. That's fine. That's not going to happen. But like, if something crazy happens where they miss the playoffs because of some just super stacked top of the NFC and something unprecedented, okay, fine. Like, outside of that sort of situation, I do not see Raheem Morris surviving no playoffs. I think he's burnt up all of his goodwill. He's not someone they can bring back. They know he's toxic to fans. It's not going to work. Zach Robinson could be fired midseason. I firmly believe that, but they don't really have a compelling option to replace him. But I do think Raheem makes it through the year, just because there's not really, like, you could give it back to Ulbrich. I mean, if you're serious like about Ulbrich being a future head coach for you, maybe you could justify it. Like, you want to see him. I personally think Raheem Morris is a defensive coordinator, not a head coach. I think we've seen enough to know that he's not a head coach, but that would be the only reason I could see to fire Morris midseason. It's not like there's anybody else you really want to give the reins to. So,
only scenario I could see is lose the Colts, lose the Panthers, and if they lose to the Saints, and then they play the Jets afterwards. Like,
if you lose to the Saints, fire.
You lose
fired,
to the Saints,
yeah.
you lose to the Saints or the Jets. It's like, all right, there's nothing left here.
Yeah. So, I agree with you there. Hopefully, we don't have to have that conversation, but it could get very dark. It could get very dark.
Think about it. They lose the Colts, but then they win those 3 winnable games. All of a sudden, they're 6-6. I mean, look, respect to Panthers, but Falcons at home against the Panthers, considering the beatdown they gave you, like, if they're not fired up for that Panthers game, just blow everything up. Just sit to the end of the season. But that 3-game stretch, Panthers, Saints, and Jets, like, there's an opportunity there. Like, if you really think you're gonna make that run, you better do it, because like in December, you gotta play Seattle, Tampa on a short week. Like, dude, they gotta play Seattle, Tampa back to back. Like, good luck, man.
That's your 2 losses. So
and then you got Rams team. Then you got Rams team on Monday night.
They got the Colts, they got the Rams, they got the Seahawks, and the Bucks. They like, that's 4 probable losses, right? They can lose 2 more games and get 10 wins. That's it. And so tell me, like, how realistic that is, right? You have to split with those 4 and not lose any of the other ones. Like, we're almost in like impossible territory here, in my opinion. So, they did this to themselves. They lost 2 games against layup teams. Should have beat the Panthers. Should have beat the Dolphins. Maybe we could talk about the Panthers being better than expected, right? The Dolphins game is inexcusable. They went out and got their asses kicked immediately after, like, beating the shit out of the Falcons. So, like, there's no justification for that one. But the Panthers, maybe. I think you have a point with that one. So.
I think now just the way it proves themselves, but you know what? You can make a counter argument too. The Panthers look absolutely hopeless those first 2 weeks. Like, the week 1 game, I can't remember this point. Who they got battered by? I know they lost like Carlos week 2, but Carlos was a disaster. I forgot who they looked. Oh, Jaguars. Like, they got blown out by the Jaguars week 1. Like, the Panthers looked like a bottom 3 team going into that week 3 matchup. And considering the Falcons just beat the Vikings, I could see why fans will harp on it. I'm just curious to see what that rematch is going to be like, because you can't deny the Panthers are a respectable team at this point. Like, the Packers don't lose those kind of games. So
no. I know the Packers lost Tucker Kraft. I think that was a big deal because he's been kind of like their number 1 wide receiver in a lot of ways.
He might be the best guy in the league right now. He might.
Apparently, it's a torn ACL is what the fear is for Tucker Kraft. So my fantasy teams are weeping at the moment. I think he was pretty much carrying like 3 of my fantasy teams. So, great. Love to hear that news. No, mostly I'm sad because we don't get to watch Tucker Kraft anymore. Yeah. But
now Floyd's gonna be really tested now.
Well, what do you think? Packers trade for Kyle Pitts. Give us like a day 2 pick.
You are in full sell.
I'm in full sell. I love Kyle Pitts. You guys know. But if I get a day 2 pick for Kyle Pitts, let's go. I'll make that deal. Yeah.
As someone that lives in New York, I got more Jet fans than Giant fan friends, but man, my boys are Giant fans that they want them to sell so bad. But I'm like, do you understand that the coach and GM are coaching for that job? You can't just trade Brian Burns for draft capital.
Yeah.
Like Brian Burns, the way he's playing, could command 2 first-round picks. But do you understand? Like, these people are coaching for their jobs. Like, right now, I'm viewing it as Raheem Morris is coaching for his job, and Terry Fontenot is operating for his job.
Yeah.
So
you're right about that.
I'm sorry, man.
It's easy for me to say, like, yeah, sell everything. I don't give a shit if we lose the next 10 games. It's harder for them to do that. That's
I'm around
that's a good
losing
point.
football. You live upstate and you resonate with Bills more. You resonate with success. I'm around just
Yeah.
dysfunction and disgusting football.
After the Falcons probably get their asses kicked in Berlin, I'm gonna go to the Bills bar and watch people have a good time on Sunday. I've done that a couple times now. That's been a nice experience. So I might be like quietly becoming like the Falcons will always be my first love. Nothing will ever match the Falcons. There's nothing I can do about that. You know, even if leaving the Falcons is good for me, it's not an option. But I'm starting to enjoy the Bills, and I live in upstate New York, so I think it's okay that I can enjoy the Bills a little bit. But
having a second team is healthy, man. Don't let anyone make you feel bad about it. Especially when literally felt like I a Jet fan, like one of my closest friends is a Jet fan, but he's also a Packers. I'm like, dude, rely on the Packers, man.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah,
your season's done by like mid-October, man.
Yeah. And you got I'm not gonna like quit. Like we're not turning to the Joshaholic live or anything, guys. You know, we're not doing that. Don't worry about that. Yeah, unfortunately, we could be the Flacco-holic again. Apparently, Flacco's going off. But shout out to I think that was the best April Fool's thing we ever did was the Flacco-holic. That was still my favorite. But
does that matter?
I can't remember who was that was before I worked here. I just remembered that as that's how long it's been. Like, you know, almost more than 10 years at this point. But yeah, that was a great one. Shout out to Dave. I'm sure Dave had a hand in it, so shout out to Dave.
I think Matt did too, because Matt's just that witty guy.
Matt would definitely go there for sure. Yeah. Okay, we got a couple more here. We got Taylor Merchant with the 5. Thank you, Taylor. So, Kevin, we got to cancel the podcast like that Panthers show so we can start winning like they did. Just kidding. Keep it up. Also, cut Romo / fire coaches, please. Yes. Yeah, I'm contractually obligated. I don't know if that Panthers podcast was contractually obligated to continue covering the team. I would still cover the team even if I wasn't contractually obligated, for the record. But I am also contractually obligated, so we will continue the show. We will continue the show no matter how bad this damn team is, and mostly because I think we need the group therapy to be able to like survive this. But yeah, we got Jason Gaines with the 2 saying, Kevin, I would go sign former UCF kicker Matthew Wright. There we go. Now you know how to get me into anything to replace Parker Romo. He's did a good job for the Chiefs and other teams that he's played for. I'd also bring back wide receiver DJ Shark to replace Sills. And to replace Bertrand, I'd sign former Dolphins linebacker David Long. Yeah, I mean, I like all those names. I mean, I'm kind of surprised they moved on from Shark. I mean, I thought Shark was like solid, but clearly he was coming back from injury, so he like wasn't 100%. I'm kind of surprised he didn't end up on the practice squad. Seems like they let him go maybe to pursue like other stuff. But when are we going to see Nick Nash? Like, I don't like if it's Dylan Drummond, fine, but like, can we like? I'm done with David Sills. Like, can we just like let's move on from this? Like whether it's Nick Nash, like I'm fine with seeing Dylan Drummond. Drummond like looked like he could get open in the preseason. I mean, he wasn't super dynamic or anything, but seemed to have a knack for getting open in the slot. So I mean, I want to see. I'd be willing to see that. I also want to see Nick Nash, because Nick Nash, you know, Triple Crown winner. You don't just luck into that. So really anything. And again, David Sills, West Virginia legend. I know my like West Virginia godparents would be like, think this was sacrilegious for me to be like slandering West Virginia legend David Sills, but you know, think maybe like he's just a Drake London backup. He is a rosterable NFL wide receiver, but having him and Drake London out there is completely like they just cancel each other out. It's why I also was kind of confused by the Casey Washington thing, where it's like, this is just the same player. Casey Washington's just like a discount Drake London. David Sills is just a discount Casey Washington. Like it's just like we don't need like we need one of these guys, just one. You know, we don't need like 4 of them. Just one would be enough. So.
And you know, it's at this point thing. I'm going a lot about Raheem Morris's pass just because he has such a long pass. You know, it's another example we could bring up. We could wrap after this. But
there's so many things to harp on tonight.
Raheem Morris was a wide receivers coach when the Falcons were a Super Bowl team. He was in a room with Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, Justin Hardy. But remember that Falcons team going into that year, they needed a vertical threat. They're like, this team needs speed. Unfortunately, one of our all-time favorites, Roddy White, he was done. You know what the team did? All right, let's make a nice move for Aldrick Robinson. He'll make a couple splash plays. We're really going to do something off the bar. We're going to get a real guy that's going to stretch teams, and we're going to utilize him in different ways. Taylor Gabriel, that's who we're going to bring in. Like, Raheem Morris worked in the room with the most expansive, well-rounded receiving group. Like, that group coalesced into such a juggernaut. I know we had the running game and the offensive line, and Austin Cooper came up, and Matt Ryan was obviously phenomenal. But that wide receiver room was so well put together. Like, it coalesced into just every week there was at least 5 to 6 explosive plays.
Yeah.
Like, how can you not look at the past and realize how you had your possession guy, Mohamed Sanu, you had your deep threats, Aldrick Robinson, you had, I'm not even calling Taylor Gabriel gadget players disrespectful. Like, he was legit game changer. He was just a nice, multi-dimensional playmaker.
Yeah.
And then
not
you
a
just
high volume guy, but very dynamic for sure.
And someone that could run outside as well.
Yeah,
Ask Malcolm Butler about it. He was put on the good parts of the Super Bowl. And then obviously you have Julio. So it's just like Raheem Morris has been a part of coaching staffs where it's just like we've seen how much of a complete wide receiver room you need. So for him to just be so just not reliant, what's the word I'm looking for? Like he just seems complacent. Like just seems like this is what we're doing now and that's it. It's just so disappointing when he's been the framework. He's been a part of teams. And we could mention the Rams. Like the Rams had so many good receivers when he was there. It's just for him to be so, this is what we're doing and that's it. So complacent. I think complacent's the best word I could use. Yeah,
I totally agree. Like, and never forget, Aldrick Robinson was wide open on the play that Devontae Freeman blew the block and Matt Ryan was sacked. Yeah. So I'm just trying to give Aldrick Robinson his props because he should have been the hero of that Super Bowl if that's blocked up right.
You know what I remember Aldrick Robinson for? He had a 48-yard touchdown in that Panthers game where Matt Ryan threw for 500 yards and Julio had over 300. But Aldrick Robinson had that one moment in that game, and it's probably a couple other ones too.
Yeah, he was like a very serviceable wide receiver 4-5 type of guy. Like I thought he was a very solid guy. He reminds me of Lamade Zaccheaus, who I also think it was dumb to let him walk. Like he just makes plays.
Need those guys, and I think the Bears are benefiting from it. And he's
absolutely.
a willing blocker too.
Yeah.
So it's like these are the types of players. Like if you had that player to fill out your receiving corps right now, it would open things up.
Zaccheaus is making $1.3 million. Like I mean, this is not like we got outbid for him. Like I mean, it's just like this obsession. Like I thought it was interesting this offseason when they brought in just only possession receivers, like in like UDFA and sort of just bringing in guys. I was like, okay, they're trying to find a big slot guy. And then they just kept 4 possession receivers. It's like we got Drake, we got Kadero Hodge, we got Casey Washington, we got David Sills. That's 4 possession receivers. You need 2 possession receivers tops. And you cut Ray, who was your 1 yards after the catch threat. I agree. I don't get it.
I feel like every team should have one multi-dimensional receiver where it's if we're gonna give him on a toss where he's motioning out or a jet sweep, it's good to have at least one receiver that could be solo or a rushing threat.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned Taylor Gabriel. Yeah, and it's not there.
No, so, they desperately need a dynamic wide receiver, yards after catch, run threat, Savion Williams, who's with Green Bay. He would have been a good option there, but anyone.
Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, Curtis Samuel. They've gone. It's they went so. They're like, oh, we need everyone to block, so we're just gonna have nothing but possession receivers. It's you're just. You can't just do that. You can't just do that. You got rid of Rayway for what I assume is personal reasons. I don't really care that you're telling me it's not about that. It was clearly about that. You're like, oh, well, he's just not capable of playing right now. He signed with the Giants a day after he was cut. Let's dispense with the nonsense about he's just not capable. He's just not ready to play. It stinks bad. We got one more George Costanza here. The 2. He says Terry Fontenot let Grady walk. He drafted DeMarco Hellams in the 7th, has nailed the first round picks. I'm still believing in Kyle Pitts. Good. This year's draft was his best. I think he needs to stay, but Coach Giggles and company need to go. Please interview Joe Brady. Yeah, I mean, I would interview Brady and Todd Monken and a bunch of guys, obviously. If Mike McDaniel gets fired, give him a shot. I mean, I know he's got his issues, but I feel if we could just get a competent offensive scheme in here, we could overcome a lot. And Mike McDaniel probably would keep Jeff Ulbrich. So, I think that makes sense to me. It's not like we're talking about getting the top candidates that are available here. All right. So
I still just wait till January to have this discussion. I just want to see who emerges because usually coaches emerge look at a Liam Cohen. I don't think at this time last year Liam Cohen was getting some buzz, but he wasn't getting coaching buzz. It wasn't until the Bucks won a heater that last 6 weeks of the season, and then he started getting buzz. So I say let's wait till early December, see which coordinators emerge. I know we know about Joe Brady, and look, I know people be hesitant, but Cliff has done a pretty good job in Washington. I wouldn't advocate for Cliff Kingsbury, but there's no denying Cliff Kingsbury will get interest if he wants to pursue it. So
Clint Kubiak too. Yeah, that could be an interesting one.
Oh, okay. That's the coordinator who's gone hot. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I think the Seahawks lead the league in explosive plays. And
Yeah.
besides Jackson Smith and Jigba, you couldn't name him that receiver who is really doing a lot.
I think like I would go with Clint Kubiak just to be like, oh yeah, Saints, you let this guy like leave your building, and now he's gonna be like the heroic head coach. Like that for me, that to me would make it worth it. Like no matter what. So yeah, maybe we should just go with that. But
The rivalry will never die.
Yep. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on the Falcaholic Live, presented by FanDuel. Unfortunately, I do have to bring up a bad stat, which is that the Atlanta Falcons are now plus 490 to make the playoffs. So
Yikes.
we are relegated quite far down the list here. It's unfortunate, but I think that's fair because I think they are about 4-1. 4-1 odds to go 7-2. I think that's pretty fair at this stage, and it seems like another doom season, which is sad. But thank you guys for hanging out with us here on the Falcaholic Live. Thanks to Allen Strk for coming in tonight, helping us out. He's at Allen Strk as well. Anything else you want to let the people know about Allen before we sign off?
No, I'm looking forward to watching the film and figure out what articles we can read this week.
Yeah, much more interesting film this week. Last week was a rough watch. Oh god. Yeah, yeah. It was disgusting. But yeah.
Kirk Cousins, enough.
Yeah.
I want to hear another headline of Kirk Cousins and trade value. I'm not trying to be mean, but just I don't know what franchise would watch Kirk Cousins film.
He tanked his chances of being an NFL starter with that game. So, and the Falcons didn't help him. But yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Big oof. But guys, thank you for joining. I'm Kevin Knight at Falcon. Kevin as well. Like, subscribe, leave that 5-star review in your podcast platform of choice. We'll be back on Tuesday with Tuesday Takes with Trey Sean as we break down the film from week 9. Like I said, a little bit more of an entertaining film watch. Definitely some good things to pick out here as the players continue to try to push that boulder uphill and overcome Falcons coaching problems. Maybe we'll get a kicker change this week. We'll talk about that as well. We'll be back on Wednesday for more Falcaholic Live too. But until then, thank you guys for hanging out. We'll be back Tuesday, back Wednesday, and continue on into week 10. Season's half over, Alan. I feel like it's flown by thus far, for good and bad reasons.
I just want to go back to the Bills game.
Yeah, I just want to live in that post-Bills high forever. But unfortunately, this team has a knack for taking us back down to earth as quickly as possible. So, guys, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. If you want to support the show, you can join us on Patreon, patreon.com/Falcaholic Live, or YouTube channel memberships here. Once again, thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next time on the Falcaholic Live and Dirty Birds and Brews. Have a great night, folks. Thanks.